And boom goes the dynamite.
Yeah. Happy Thursday! Welcome into another edition of Daily Dive. I'm your host, Renee Washington. Pumped up, ready to go for some more exciting breaking news to talk about. We've got producer Mike joining us on the show. And as always, you are now tuned into Daily Dive, bringing you the latest in our live episodes every day, Monday through Friday, 12 p.m. Eastern Time. We've got top stories to get into. We've got a guest on the show in the man behind so many components of the NLL, including being the Vancouver Warriors play-by-play broadcaster, Jake Elliott. And then we've got to share our daily dive game of the week. So a few major headlines. I don't even know where to begin. Oh, wait, yes, I do. Let's start with the trade news. Breaking news that we had Josh Currier traded from the Saskatchewan Rush to the Calgary Roughnecks, joins Calgary star and brother Zach Currier. So another brotherly duo. And with that, the Rush receive a conditional pick. And the Roughnecks received 29-year-old Josh, who had 10 goals, 5 assists in the 2018 playoff runs, and helped lead that Nighthawks group to a final. So Josh joins Zach, younger brother, 28-year-old Zach, who has just 4 points in 4 games this season, but 57 loose balls, has caused a number of turnovers, and also has been just a big part of Calgary. So with Calgary at 2-2, hosting the Seals this Saturday, bringing in somebody new in Josh, a vet, someone that's been a part of deep postseason runs and finals. How much does this help Calgary immediately?
I think it helped him immediately because when you have a brother on a team, obviously the chemistry of growing up, because they are like 1 year apart in age, which is good. And also it's a measure of offense because I look at the two stats of these guys. One of them is a fast break guy who, does the dirty work. And one of them is Josh Currier, who has a bunch of stuff where he scores and assists. Like he does a nice number of both. So I'm sure it's going to help them. I don't know if he gets to play against the Seals, but I'm assuming they're going to try to push that pretty hard with him.
Yeah, the timeline of when a trade happens, being ready to play the game that week is tight usually, but I feel like I agree they're probably working really hard to make that happen. I do feel like what the Currier brothers bring is, in addition to veteran leadership, but as you mentioned, they do a little bit of everything. They can get goals, assists, but they can also help cause turnovers, win loose balls. They're scrappy, they're aggressive. They're those types of complementary pieces that you need to help build your team around, that are going to just be team first players and do whatever it takes to help the team win. And then I do love, this is, I guess, the fake city of brotherly love, but Calgary, the city of brotherly the Currier love. And I do always love the opportunity for family to play together because it adds an extra element to the team culture that we're actual brothers and we're teammates as brothers. There's some love there. So I'm excited to see how this pans out for Calgary, Mike.
I do want to also mention a tweet by Cody Jansen, who's a regular guest on the show, Saskatchewan Rush play-by-play. He said, as for the Rush side of things, great move for both sides as Keenan lands another asset and Currier will get a ton of opportunity in Calgary. Saskatchewan holds now 5, likely 6 with a Corbeil comp draft picks in the first 2 rounds of the 2023 draft, plus 2 or 3 in 2024. So as Lacrosse grows, so do the Rush's farm system, which I'm sure in 5 years could make this trade pretty even.
Yes, and we talked with Cody Jansen on the show in our Wednesday edition yesterday about how some teams not only are looking towards right now, but looking ahead towards the future. And this is definitely a move for the future for the Rush. You get to add some more capital to your draft in the future, and now you get to start planning for the young talent that you're bringing into the mix. And as we're talking about growing and making changes for the future, a major change for the future of lacrosse, as we saw released January 11th, that the United States Olympic and Paralympic Committee has officially welcomed USA Lacrosse as a recognized sport organization. And exciting news is it's now officially recognized. We're growing the game. It's officially an Olympic sport, and the Affiliates Organization Council has made that news possible. So breaking news, lacrosse has grown to a level that on an international level will be able to get that recognition that it so desperately needs. Are you surprised it took this long, Mike? Or even just what are your thoughts around the timing in general of this announcement that USA Lacrosse has officially gained some recognition?
First thought, I'm sure this took some time. However, I do wonder how much Brett Frude, the commissioner, has to do with accelerating the process, maybe. I mean, I don't know what goes into that, but I'm pretty sure it helps when the commissioner comes in and is a new voice, maybe. Like, I'm sure they've been trying to do this for years and years. The secondary thought that came to mind almost right after that one was, doesn't USA have water polo already? Like,
Yeah.
I feel like, no offense, but I feel like there's a
Where's
lot more people who play lacrosse than who play water polo. And I love to swim. But can we please be honest about this? What took this so long? It blows my mind.
I think what makes this tough is there are so many sports beyond just water polo. Like when you watch the Olympics, when you watch, there are so many sports that get recognized on an international level. Um, and to not see lacrosse in that mix sooner, I mean, I think even spike ball is now becoming and moving in that direction, and it's very new and it's not nearly as recognized. Now it's growing, it's a collegiate sport and everything, it is growing, but I think we're seeing more and more sports that are recognized on an international level and within the US Olympics and Paralympics. So the question is like, what took so long? I agree with you on that, especially with how box lacrosse and field lacrosse and college lacrosse has really grown so much over the years.
I also don't want to be too ignorant because we mentioned the international part. I do realize there's other countries in the world besides the United States. And I don't know if I could be wrong, but I don't know if lacrosse is a worldwide game, and maybe that did take long to kind of expand it and grow it at the same time. So, good point by you.
That is the tough part. You know, there are more sports and tremendous athletes outside of our borders of the United States that we have to recognize as well that also play a factor into these decisions. So with that being said, it's some exciting breaking news as USA Lacrosse has officially been a part of and gained that recognition that's so needed and so wanted to continue to help grow the game. Well, we've got plenty that we've been able to address this week in some breaking news and another top story presented by the Daily Dive store. But we also have some more that we want to get into, especially as we're taking a deeper dive into that breaking news from yesterday with the changes in the front office in Vancouver. So with that, we're going to get ready to welcome in our guest for the day, Jake Elliott, Vancouver Warriors play-by-play broadcaster, to take a deeper dive into what's going on with the Warriors. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back here with more. Welcome back to Daily Dive. I'm your host, Renee Washington. We've had a chance to break down some of the latest news and also talk through what's going on lacrosse on an international level and taking a look back on the breaking news from yesterday that happened out of Vancouver. We've got to welcome in our guest for the day. Our guest is presented by Fanatics Link, which is in our bio that you can check out on our link tree to purchase all of your NLL merchandise through our Fanatics affiliate link. And so Jake Elliott, Vancouver Warriors play-by-play broadcaster, also the host of Lacrosse Splash, a part of the lacrosse class, and honestly doing some fantastic work in your coverage of the NLL. I have to ask, with that breaking news in Vancouver, your initial reaction, Jake?
Oh man, it's good to see you again, Renee. I
I
feel like it's
know.
been a long, long time since we've seen each other. So good to see you. Good to be on Daily Dive, and appreciate the intro. So yeah, Vancouver. You know, I wouldn't say I was surprised because I don't think anybody could really be surprised with what has transpired over the last 4 games, and then prior to that, with this amount of success that they've had or lack of it. This is a business. This is pro sports, and it's a win now league. And if you don't do that, somebody's going to lose their job. And unfortunately, in this situation, it was Dan Richardson and Ken Thomas. And prior to that, it was Chris Gill and Caleb Toth. And prior to that, it was Doug Locker, and the list goes on, right? So it's been a long time since Vancouver has had winning teams and winning culture in this market, and they're just going to keep making moves until they find the right combination, I suppose.
Yeah, and that's something that we've had the same conversations around Vancouver for season after season after season now. And I agree. You need something that's going to make a significant change to help them be more competitive in the NLL. And so when you're looking ahead at the future, in your opinion, and I value your opinion since you've always been able to bring such great lacrosse insight. So I feel like you're the great person to ask this question, like perfect person to ask this question to. Bringing in a GM, what do you need if you're Vancouver in a GM in your front office that's going to be helping to make those big decisions to turn this franchise around and help them be more competitive?
Yeah, I don't know if one person is going to be able to do that, Renee. Like I think bringing in the right person is definitely going to help to kind of point the ship in the right direction. But ultimately, at the end of the day, it's the team on the turf that has to spark the turnaround. And it's the GM's responsibility to put the players on the turf. It's the coach's responsibility to make the players do what he wants when they're out there. And then it's on the players to go out there and execute the game plan to have success. So it is a multi-layered thing. But as far as finding the right guy, I think there's layers to that as well. Like you want a guy that evaluates talent very well. You
Mm,
want a guy that manages personalities very well. You want a guy that can see the future but also see the now as well, and see the big picture. You want a guy that is good in front of a camera and can talk to the media, is good with ownership and knows how to have those conversations. There you have to have a guy that knows the rule book inside and out as far as making trades and signing players and
mm.
how to work your roster. So there's a lot of things there, to be a successful GM. I don't possess many of those qualities, Renee. So I don't think I'm in the
Neither.
running. But I would like to see, if I get an opinion or a suggestion. I think I would like to see somebody from the West Coast step into that position. Somebody that's connected to the lacrosse market here in British Columbia, in particular, that the fans would know and have an opinion on,
Mm.
and I think that's an important thing. So I think there's a number of candidates out there. I really do. And I think also that they're going to take their time with this decision. I don't think we're going to see Vancouver name a new GM for at least a month or two, and maybe not until the off season.
Oh, interesting, interesting. And I think that's a great point you bring up about not only the fit needing to be right in terms of personality, connection to the community, understanding of, Vancouver lacrosse, understanding of just and having a great relationship with lacrosse in general, especially within the NLL, but also needing to take your time. I would take it a step further because you do need to get it right.
Yeah.
This should not be an impulsive decision. It should not be a quick fix. This is a team that's 0-4, and has had losing seasons over the past years. And so you want to take your time and find the right GM that is a good fit. So I know
Yeah.
you also talk about the players, and that is a huge part of it. Coaches coach, GMs and front office make a lot of decisions administratively, but at the end of the day, when you step on the field, it's up to the players to really put together the pieces that they can control in helping the team win. So being off to an 0-4 start, not having that win, not getting the results they want. Is there something we're missing about Vancouver? Is their record a true testament of what you're seeing from the Warriors?
Yeah, I think so, Renee. I think your record is what it is. You can take we played well for 3 quarters and we let that one slip away. Well, yeah, you let it slip away. You didn't play well for 4 quarters, so it's a loss. So I'm not a big fan of trying to find positives out of losses. I think a loss is a loss, a win is a win, and at the end of the year, your record, I can't remember the football coach that said it. It is what it is. So this matchup coming in here in the next 2 weeks, frankly, Renee, is Vancouver and Vegas are going to play back-to-back weekends here in a home and home, is real important for both of these franchises. I think, for Vancouver to just kind of turn the page a little bit and get a win in the win column. Vegas, I think if they can get a win or two here over the next couple of weeks, they're going to start to believe in themselves a little bit as well. So a real interesting couple of weeks coming up here between the Desert Dogs and the Warriors, no question about that. But yeah, some work to be done here in Vancouver from the roster. Like, don't get me wrong here. Like, Dan Richardson did a lot of good things during his time here in Vancouver. Drafting Adam Charlambides and Reed Bowering, and he turned the roster over quite a bit. Like, I think Logan Schuss and Justin Salt are the only two guys left from the Vancouver Stealth days. So there's been a lot of turnover and not a lot of draft picks in those years there in Vancouver at the beginning for Dan, right? And you cannot win in this league without first and second round picks in your roster. You just can't do it. And Vancouver did not have that luxury, and it showed. And there were some mistakes along the way too. Don't get me wrong, like playing poker with Alex Bouquet, thinking he was going to re-sign with you, and then decided to jump ship and go somewhere else. That cost Vancouver dearly because now they got two rookies in goal, and all you have to do is look at the remaining 6 teams that were in the playoffs and went to the championship last year, and you look who was in between the pipes for those 6 teams. This league is about goaltending, and you can't win without it. And I'll say, like, some holes are just a little too deep to dig out of, and I think that was kind of the situation here with Dan, is he just ran out of runway, ran out of time on the rebuild, just couldn't get it done in a soon enough time.
Yeah. Well, there are definitely changes that are going to take time, and you talk about a rebuild. Are there any initial things that you feel like the Warriors can change quicker? I won't say immediately. It's still going to take
Yeah,
time.
I
That would help.
yeah, I don't know if it would help for the here and now, but I think it would help for the future. And I just think, they've made this Troy Cordonley, I think, who will probably handle a lot of the GM duties here down the stretch, along with Dave Sheldon and a couple other guys to kind of work together to kind of get through the year here. They've already made the move to go young and goal, right? And I think for future's sake, why not just go full blown, full send here, Renee? Go youth movement and maybe move on from some of the veterans in this team and just let the kids play. And it may be a painful and suffering rest of the season here in Vancouver if you do that, but the dividends that will pay off for the next year and the years to come, getting those guys the experience now, going through that pain now, will help for future years. So if I'm throwing on my GM hat, I'm playing the crap out of the kids for the rest of the season.
I like it. Start building for the future of the success and taking those lumps. I mean, you're taking them anyways. You're 0-4,
Exactly, right? Whatever you've been doing for the past 3 or 4 years, playing vets and whatever else, has not transpired into success. So
Right.
time to try something different here.
Why not? I like it. So, Jake, I know as we've been talking about in the show, the growth of the game, every year we're seeing new and exciting changes and leagues and things that are coming out, including the news that we just saw from USA Lacrosse. And you do a great job of growing the game.
I just woke up here, Renee. So you tell me, what did I miss? USA is now into the Olympics. Is that
Yes, that's the exciting news. It's finally lacrosse is finally getting the well-deserved recognition.
I guess it's not just USA into the Olympics. It's lacrosse into the Olympics.
Correct.
I love
Yes.
it.
I would love to hear and give you an opportunity to share more about the work you do in the podcast world, as you're also helping to continue to grow the game and cover the game in such a needed way and having conversations just like this. So can you share with those tuned in a little bit more about your work and the podcasting that you do?
Sure, it's it's the same but different than this, and I kind of really like what you guys have been doing here on the Daily Dive, a daily
Oh,
thing.
thank you.
I think that's the amount of time and effort that you guys are investing into this has got to be a lot. So kudos to you guys. Yeah, Lacrosse Classified is the name of the podcast, Lax Class for short. You can find it wherever you listen to your podcasts, just like any other podcast out there. But we've been going for the better part of 3 or 4 years now, and it's been a lot of fun. We get to talk to all the biggest names in the sport, and we do that on a weekly basis. The show comes out on every Tuesday, and you can find that on the Lacrosse Flash as well. And yeah, we chat for about an hour and a half on whatever the soup du jour is of the week, and have some fun with it. So it's myself and Tino Farah doing that, and every now and then I'll get Jamie Dowick of the Toronto Rock to sit into the co-host chair with me, and a few other people tend to drop by over time, but we crank it out every week, and we have a lot of fun with it, and a lot of people like to listen to it, so that makes me happy.
Yes, it makes me happy too to see how well you're doing with growing Lax Class and everything that you've been doing around the league. And our star guest presented by Fanatics, Jake Elliott, perfect timing to join the show around what's going on in Vancouver and just to be able to shine a light on what you've been seeing firsthand. So thank you so much for taking time to join us, and I'd love to have you on again in the future.
Appreciate you having me. Good to see you again. Keep up the great work here on Daily Dive, and I'd be happy to join you anytime.
Thank you. Thank you. And the lacrosse community is so small. Everybody knows everybody. It's like a family reunion. Jake Elliott and I going back a few years, 4 years now, I would say. So that being said, as we're growing the game and we're continuing to have these conversations, we've got more to get into. So don't go anywhere because we've got to break down our Daily Dive game of the week in just a few moments right here. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Daily Dive. We've had a chance to talk about the breaking news around the trade as we have the Currier brothers now both playing in Calgary. Josh Currier traded from the Rush to Calgary, and Saskatchewan receiving that conditional pick. We also talked about the news around USA Lacrosse, and as Jake Elliott reminded us, yes, all lacrosse now being recognized as an Olympic sport. And we did have our star guest of the show presented by Fanatics, Jake Elliott, Vancouver Warriors play-by-play broadcaster, as we've been continuing to unravel and peel back the layers of the news out of Vancouver with the Warriors making some front office changes. So let's look ahead and get into, as we prepare for Friday the 13th, our Daily Dive game of the week, brouhaha. That will be Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, Saskatchewan Rush taking on Colorado Mammoth. Both teams 2-1. Teams that have already had a chance to face each other for game number 2 as they play each other this season in week 7. Now, this is going to be an exciting game, Mike. I am feeling it. I'm feeling a down to the wire, and we're not giving our picks right now. I'm not picking who I'm saying is going to win, but I'm feeling a down to the wire, 1 goal, maybe 2 goal type of a game.
I'm picturing a bloodbath. Like after what Cody said about how the coach likes to slow it down in Colorado, how Saskatchewan, dropped 18-6 on them boys' heads. It cannot feel good to be a Mammoth player right now. And I think what better way to grow the game than that? Also want to give a huge shout out to Jake Elliott. I don't know how in the world I'm going to follow that up because he brought the fire. So I want to get that out of the way as well. But no, this game's, oh my gosh. I have a lean of where I want to go. But this is going to be a game of the year, man. Like after what they did to them the first game, this is going to be insane.
We shall see. We shall see. Well, we also did see this week that Connor Robinson was named the NLL Player of the Week after his 5-goal performance versus Panther City for the Mammoth. We saw Panther City rookie Jonathan Donville named Rookie of the Week with 3 goals, 3 assists. It's actually he's actually, I should say, second on the team with 20 points. So always love to see those weekly honors that come out. And the news around that, as it's an exciting moment for players to get recognized for the work they did the week before, the performances that they had. And for the Mammoth, the honors and the accomplishments this week just continue pouring in.
Yeah, and full disclosure, Connor Robinson was almost a Daily Dive star until Callum Crawford did the pick 6. So I had to throw that in there. Wow. Also, another thing about Jake Elliott, I just have to get back to this Warriors thing, is when we officially scheduled him, that news had not broken yet. So he was on the fly. That was from the heart. And I'm like, he probably had one night's sleep on that joker. Wow. And things are bad in Vancouver, but at least the news just keeps coming. The news just keeps coming.
So let me clarify that. We had not scheduled for Jake to be on intentionally for the news. He was already going to be on. And what I love about that, for everybody that is tuning into Daily Dive, if you haven't realized by now, Mike and I tend to be ahead of the curve. Like we are the ones that break the curve. We know what's happening. I'm not saying we know the future or anything, but we've been pretty spot on so far. Our picks may not be at 100% because who knows if we're really giving our picks or if we're just making you guys think we don't know. But in all seriousness, we were talking Tuesday about more GM changes and more front office changes that we anticipate coming next. And we actually said Vancouver. And now it's not rocket science or brain surgery that we just predicted, but it literally happened within 24 hours of us saying that Vancouver was next to have some sort of a change. And they did. We had Jake Elliott scheduled to be on the show just to talk lacrosse, just to talk NLL. And then bam, the Vancouver Warriors play-by-play broadcaster happened to be on the day after the breaking news from the Warriors GM and assistant GM. I love these kismet moments.
I know. And I also, like, it was gonna be like recaps and previews. That was, I was like struggling to find topics. I want to have a Warriors person on, and when that happened, I'm like, well, oh, by the way, we're going to talk this now. But I have a question for you. Do you think, as lacrosse fandom grows, do you think that Keegan Ball being voted the most underrated, like having the preseason hype start to build up, and they just go 0-4 out the gate? Does that contribute to any? I mean, they were probably thinking about, well, what's the nail in the coffin here? That they're underachieving with Keegan Ball, Mitch Jones, and others? Or what are we doing? This is insane.
Yeah, I think the reason Keegan Ball is the most underrated is because he's with the Warriors. He's the Damian Lillard with Portland. He's the Russell Wilson with Denver, or I'll say more Lamar Jackson with Baltimore. There are top players across every league that are not getting into the playoffs, being a part of losing seasons.
Connor McDavid with the Oilers.
Right. Bingo. They're on a team
Jesus, man,
that cannot win. So if Keegan Ball is having this same success with a team that's, forget even just winning a championship, but that's at least getting into the playoffs, he's getting more recognition. Just like on the reverse, we sometimes see players not get recognition, Dehoga, Nanticoke, not get recognition because they're on a good team, and people can make excuses that's because of the players around them that they're having so many goals and assists. But for anybody that plays sports, unless somebody is literally putting you in the goal, it takes talent to score goals and get assists. I don't care who's around you. I don't care what team you're on. If you can score, if you can help your team get on the scoreboard in some way, you are a legitimate player. So, yes, there are gray areas there around like padding stats and whatever else, but that's not the case here with Keegan Ball. That's not the case whatsoever. So I think overall, the nail in the coffin for the Warriors is you have talent, you're 0-4, and you're putting together a bad product. You're not selling tickets. You're not. So I think the nail in the coffin was that 4th loss. That was like, you can make an excuse for the first 2. I mean, somebody's going to lose week 1 and week 2. But now as we get into a 4-game losing streak, and definitely if they lose this weekend,
Now it's a problem. Yeah.
now it's a problem. It's like,
I,
whoa, these aren't early week
it's
1
like who they
issues.
are, not just a trend. Yeah. I have
Yeah.
another question. Since we're doing predictions here, not the game predictions, but um, does Keegan Ball get dealt even without a GM? If what Jake Elliott says is true, that they might wait a little bit, should they dump him while they still can?
Dump.
Well, he is the most underrated player.
Dump.
Oh,
I
trade.
think I think that like the hardest thing for teams when you're in this situation is trying to figure out how much do you get rid of. When you're talking about a rebuild, it's going to take time. And so when you're looking at Logan Schuss and Keegan Ball, players that are veterans, how long do you keep them versus when is it time to use them for draft picks, for trade capital? You could probably get some a really good trade deal worked around Keegan Ball. You definitely can for at least, I would say, 2 players. So when you think about the potential, but it's also a risk because you don't know how those trades and everything are going to play out, how the new players coming in will play out. So personally, I always say, like, don't trade your number 1 guy. I feel like you want to, I'm not a GM. Try to trade your number 2, number 3 guys and then bring in more pieces to help that number 1 guy. So try to keep a Keegan Ball and maybe you trade a Logan Schuss. But I also don't really know what they're thinking. Like, are they ready to just throw it all away and start new? Or is it like piecemeal where you want to bring in pieces? So that's what we're going to stick around and stay tuned into following as this develops, because I think it's going to take time for Vancouver to get a GM. It's going to take time for them to figure out how they're going to go about their rebuild. And that's why we're here every day on Daily Dive, to break it down, to talk it through as we're seeing back, each of the layers getting peeled back, to talk through the updates and bring you all the latest. So plenty of breaking news. Every day this week we've had breaking news, which we love, and also have some great predictions and thoughts moving forward. So if you haven't already, hit that follow button at Daily Dive Lax across social media. Be sure to subscribe and be sure to tune into the show each and every day, Monday through Friday, 12 p.m. Eastern Time. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today and joining us here on Daily Dive with our guest, Jake Elliott, our producer, Mike, our major breaking news and headlines. I'm Renee Washington saying see you tomorrow for our final Friday edition of the week of Daily Dive.